So just recently, there was this big fat guy who claimed that Australian airline Qantas fat-shamed him by not allowing him to sit in the emergency exit row because he was, well, too fat. Quick sponsor, then we'll talk about that. In 2000 and current year, it's really important to keep your body healthy all the time. Collagen may be the closest thing we'll ever get to the so-called fountain of youth, while also forming a wall of defence between your immune system and the rest of your body. A lot of health experts now agree that consuming collagen is crucial when it comes to renewing and revitalising how you look and feel. So visit my page at healthwithbear.com and secure your supply of the only collagen on the market I trust. Link in the description. Yeah, so this guy Darren Beals recently claimed he was fat-shamed by Qantas because they wouldn't let him sit in the emergency exit row. Here's a Channel 10 interview he did about the incident.
Mate, really sorry this has happened to you. Can you take us through exactly what happened and why?
Did she just address him as mate? That kind of seems odd for a call-in TV interview. I mean, unless she's interacted with him before, but I don't think she has. Maybe it seems odd because she's a chick. Chicks don't really use mate a lot. Anyway.
Mate, really sorry this has happened to you. Can you take us through exactly what happened and why? What sort of regulations forced you out of the emergency row?
Well, pretty much all what I was told.
F***ing hell, old Bob from next door's put on a few kgs. Oh, gee whiz, Barry, you're such a bigot. Not everyone has a silky smooth velvety voice like you. Why have you got to hate everything that's a little bit different? Voice diversity is our strength. F*** off, Bob. Gee, what a fascist.
Pretty much all what I was told to actually, because you can't have an extended seatbelt in the emergency lane.
Yeah, that kind of seems fair.
Now, I've just got in contact. Qantas has actually just called me up, reframing, what is the policies. They said it wasn't the planes, or Qantas or Virgin or anything like that. It was actually the air regulations.
Yep, it does seem that way. The Australian Civil Aviation Safety Authority's policy on emergency exit rows is as follows. If you are seated in an emergency exit row, you may be called upon to assist crew members in the unlikely event of an emergency evacuation. We provide guidance to airlines on the criteria for appropriate passengers to be seated in exit rows to ensure that the exit can be opened and the aircraft evacuated as quickly as possible. This includes being able-bodied, at least 15 years old, able to understand and speak English, willing to provide assistance to crew and other passengers in the event of an emergency. Passengers who are travelling with an infant or child or someone who requires assistance in an emergency are not permitted to sit in an exit row. If you are seated in an exit row, you will be given a briefing and encouraged to review all safety information and ask questions. Now, if you require a seatbelt extender, it could be argued quite reasonably that you are obese and therefore not able-bodied.
I was not, quite aware of the situation.
Oh, you weren't aware of the situation? Well, in that case, air safety regulations shouldn't apply, obviously.
But
Darren, have you sat in that seat before when you've flown?
No, I've never, because I've only flown about 2 to 3 times.
I see.
So I chose this one because it will give me a bit more leg room. That's all what I was actually asking for.
Yeah, look, I get that. I do my best to get emergency exit row seats whenever I fly because I'm about 6'2", and if I'm sitting in a normal seat on a domestic passenger jet, my knees are usually pressed up against the seat in front of me. But when I go to choose an emergency exit row seat, a notice always pops up telling me that I need to be able-bodied and willing to assist in an emergency.
It wasn't that I needed a second seat, what pretty much social media is actually slamming me for because I'm being big. I should have the rights to pay for a second seat, but it wasn't the case because I fit, in the seat that was provided.
Yeah, okay, maybe your arse fit in the seat that was provided to you, but how much upper body spillover was there? Like, how much of that armrest did the person next to you have access to?
When you paid for the extra legroom, Darren, because they charge you a bit extra, did they say, was there anything in the booking process or the seat selection process where they said, if you require an extra seatbelt, you cannot sit in this seat?
Yeah, they say you must be able-bodied to sit in this seat.
Well, I actually didn't book the actual ticket. I had a friend that actually did it all for me.
Right.
So I did ask him, where he wants to sit, and, he pretty much was saying that, you can't sit here if you're disabled or anything like that.
And anything like that includes being so obese that you need a seatbelt extender. Seems pretty reasonable to me.
This must feel like a slap in the face because we just saw that photo of you and, you're a big guy, but also you seem pretty strong.
That's what I was going to say. He'd be more equipped to get in an
Help people
emergency
get
to get the window out.
That's right.
They weigh 20 kilos. You've got to bring them in the plane and then throw them out.
That's right.
I'm sure
and
you could do that.
That's all I've ever heard, that you must be strong enough to
Willing
be able to
assist.
operate and willing and able to assist during a case of emergency. I mean, in a way, they've described your size as having a disability. That's disgusting.
The Australian Human Rights Commission says obesity can be covered by the definition of disability in the Disability Discrimination Act. Are they disgusting too?
Well, look, no matter what, at the end of the day, I come to a point that I will think of others before thinking of myself. So in a line of a crisis, I'll be thinking, but what goes to show, if you put someone there who is really scrawny or anything like that,
True.
Not being, about it, but, can they handle 20 kilos of door if that need be? Or
Well, if it appears that they can't, I'd be quite happy to consider them not able-bodied for the purpose of sitting in an emergency exit row seat and assisting in the evacuation of a downed aeroplane. This really isn't complicated in my opinion. If you're morbidly obese, you shouldn't be sitting in the emergency exit row. If you're retarded, you shouldn't be sitting in the emergency exit row. If you've got a broken arm, you shouldn't be sitting in the emergency exit row. If you're Mexican, you should. No, I'm only joking. Mexicans are fine, but not morbidly obese Mexicans, not retarded Mexicans, and not Mexicans with broken arms.
Can I ask, you said that in the article that the flight attendant was rude to you, Darren. Can I just ask what they said to you and how they treated you?
Well, pretty much how I explained to Rude is she pulled me up out of my seat. Look, I was aware that I would have to be moved, but she pretty much moved me while everyone was seated, and we were starting to, decline, to go to the tarmac to take off. So pretty much everyone was actually just looking at me. It felt like, a walk of shame going down the aisle.
Well, that's unfortunate. I understand that could have been really embarrassing, but them's the air safety regulations. What are you going to do?
I was kind of seeing red at the time when she was saying it, because I felt, after doing the walk of shame down to my seat. But it just felt to another point. She started explaining the air regulations for me, but I turned around and says, well, look, all what I needed was an extended belt.
Yeah, it sounds like she understood that, but the issue is you need to be able-bodied to sit in the emergency exit row, and people who require an extender belt because of their size are not considered to be able-bodied.
Why can't you guys fit, planes with that extra belt? For cater for people, it's not... there is some form of, disability with some people are being big.
Hang on, what did that host chick say just before?
In a way, they've described your size as having a disability. That's disgusting.
There is some form of, disability with some people are being big.
Disgusting.
Disability.
Disgusting.
I think all of this should have been fixed up before you got on the plane, if they thought there was going to be an issue. Not on the plane, before you get on the plane. They know where the people are
Surely
seated.
when they check your ticket as you're boarding the plane, check
Exactly.
your boarding pass, they know which is the exit row seat.
Yeah. If there was going to be a
standing in
problem,
front of you, they're
it
looking
should
right
have
at
been
you.
They're standing in front of you, they're looking right at you. Okay, so apparently this is how it should have gone down. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Qantas Airlines. May I please see your boarding pass? I notice you're sitting in an emergency exit row. I also notice you're quite fat. Exactly how fat are you, sir? I'm strong. I'm sorry, sir, but airline safety regulations stipulate that we need to throw this measuring tape round your pudding to see exactly how fat you are. I'm sorry, sir, but I'm afraid your measurements came in at exactly too fat to sit in the emergency exit row. If you'll kindly wait one moment while I reallocate your seat and the remaining passengers wait in line sneering at the fat guy who caused a further delay.
Recession, you better